And we are live. Hello, carnivores, and welcome to session number 38. The end of January is always when the truth comes out because we sincerely hope that you've been adhering to the plan that you committed to for 2024. But if not, you are in the right place because iron sharpens iron. And Jonathan, Mark, and I haven't talked with all three of us in forever. So we thought that we'd catch up on life and business and record it and share it with you. Before we jump into the meat, here is our Spotify before we jump into the meat, here is our Spotify podcast review of the week. It is from Holly Knutson. Between your content, Dr. Ken Berry, we follow on YouTube, Dr. Anthony Chafee, we have been supported in ways that no marketed fad diet ever could provide. No programs, no subscriptions, no counting macros, and best of all, no yo-yo effect for either one of us. 100% satisfied on meat all day, every day. Cheers to good health. That was in response to session number 35, Insulin, Metabolism, and Gut Health with Dr. Robert Kiltz. Thank you very much for the review, Holly. That was more like another true success story more than it was a review, but even better. Praise God indeed, and cheers to good health. Jonathan, what is the latest in your world, mate?
Not too bad, thanks. Hope everyone else that's listening is doing well, and it's great to be back on again for a little chat. Lately, I've changed up my training a little bit, reduced my training volume even more. I'm training even more instinctive than ever. I'm not afraid of rest days anymore. I don't think I'll lose all my gains if I take an extra day off here and there. My appetite's come back, so I'm actually able to eat a bit more, which is quite helpful. I was in a weird kind of point where I just felt a bit sick eating most things. You know, when you go to the supermarket or the grocery store, you think, I could eat that, and it goes into your plate, and you look at it and think, oh, I can't be bothered. I don't have the appetite for it. But it's come back now, so it means I'm in full force to gain a bit more muscle, which is very useful with my future contest preparation. Inevitably, around the corner, I'm looking to compete again, probably around October or November 2024, if I can and if my body lets me. But other than that, my spine feels a bit better for the most part. My hips still quite bad. My right hip joint is not great, but working around it, I'm using some different supplements to help reduce inflammation where I can, and ultimately just trying to be a bit more instinctive, like I said earlier. So doing less, sometimes less is more, and I'm finding that to be absolutely true of my training so far. How are you guys doing?
Do you want to go Colt or me?
I was going to say, how about you go ahead? I just did the intro.
Yeah, so with me, my training hasn't changed at all. It never changed all the way up till prep, and it never changed coming out of prep. So I'm still doing the same routine. I'm still doing the same amount of volume. I'm literally in now the gym within 40 minutes. Most of my workouts are always done in the morning, so I'm still training relatively fasted, but I always get the question on my training, do I always make sure I go to the gym fed? And I always say yes. I always make sure I have a meal in me pretty much before I go to bed. And yeah, with the volume in the gym, like Jonathan, I think that's just it's always been my preference. I like to just go into the gym. I like to listen to my body. I like to maybe warm up at the very, very beginning, but as the workout prolongs, I don't do any warm ups at all. I just go through the movements. And that's pretty much it. How about you, Colt?
Very, very, very good. I just think it's kind of funny how we're coming up close to almost a year from when we started Carnivore Coaches Corner, and here we are, just the same three dudes saying the exact same thing that we did before we started, right? Not a whole lot new. So yeah, for me, it's been very high intensity, very low volume as well. Actually, right before this, Mark, you completely tripped me out, man. You WhatsApp messaged me, and thank you for doing that because it was 45 minutes ago that you messaged me, and I was like, okay. Oh, wait a second. We're on in 45 minutes because you're in Ireland, Jonathan's in the UK, right? And so I'm like doing the math again. I'm like, no, heck no. Jonathan totally told me last week that we were on for this time, and I wrote it down for 11:30, and then I was like, crap, no. 7 minutes past, excuse me, 7 hours before 5:30 your guys' time is definitely 10:30, not 11:30 my time. So I was like, okay. I was like just finishing up all my client check-ins, and then I was like, wow, I have 45 minutes until we hit the record button. This is going to be a record workout. So yeah, I got my entire workout done today in 30 minutes, which is an important one because I'm training legs 3 days a week, and upper body twice a week. I guess I never ran this by you, Jonathan. Mark and I have been believers that if you train your lower body and focus even disproportionately on your lower body, that your upper body grows, like even by accident sometimes. So like I've been training shoulders, every single upper body part, even my weaker upper body points, just once a week, but I'm slamming legs 3 times a week, and very, 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 very minimal cardio. So if I miss a shoulder workout, like that sucks, man, because that would have been my one for the week, right? And my calendar's slammed right now with coaching meetings and with check-ins, because it's the end of the year and everybody's getting ready for 2024. When this airs, it'll be 2024. We're recording it at the end of the month, but that's neither here nor there. But yeah, I got it done in 30 minutes, and I think I did about 5 or 6 exercises. Haven't written it down. The first one was, Mark, the one that you showed me at Body Shop, which is a side lateral, and then you go to the front, you go up over your head, so that hits the rear delt, and then back down to the front delt, side delt, and then down to the side again. So it's essentially a combination of a front raise and a side raise, and it hits the rear delts too. Did that one to failure. A couple warm-up sets, one big set. Same thing with behind the neck presses. I do that on my isolateral machine, and then do barbell wide grip behind the neck presses for the lower part of the side delts. Do that at the end of the workout, because it's obviously the most dangerous exercise of the workout plan. So after that, did some isolateral chest work, just one exercise there. That was my only chest exercise for the week. Couple sets of curls in between sets, and a couple sets of upright rows in between sets. But yeah, shoulders are still twitching right now, and that took 30 minutes to get that workout done. Compared to this time last year, I was doing this is where I owe this all to you guys, man, because both of you, I think this was a while after Carnivore Coach's Corner started, that both of you were just like, you're doing too much junk volume. You're doing too much junk volume. You're going to get injured. That is ramping up your appetite. And ever since I got that under control and lowered my volume and trained with higher intensity, the way that you guys have been encouraging me to do, my appetite is gone, man. Like I'm never hungry right now. I'm able to see my abs. I'm not peeled. I'm not shredded. I don't know, probably somewhere around like 12% body fat. But yeah, that's pretty much the update here in a nutshell. So, Jonathan, I had a question for you on your supplements. To my knowledge, your supplement protocol has always been pretty conservative, and actually, I haven't been taking supplements at all, none whatsoever for the past couple months, and haven't noticed any lack of progress. So I'm really curious, man, because if you're taking something that's got to be pretty good, what's your secret?
Well, it's not Clen, it's not Trent, it's not Anavar. I can say that much.
Okay, because those are my first 3 guesses.
Yeah, I mean, my supplement stack right now, for what it's worth, vitamin D, I'll just use throughout the entire winter months. It's so cold outside. I can't sit out there for that long. It's miserable. It's grey. It's always raining here. You know, I tried to get as much sun exposure as I can to get vitamin D. Outside of that, I'll occasionally, I mean, when I say occasionally, I mean like every couple of weeks I might use it like once, a magnesium glycinate supplement. If I've got twitchy legs, that might be helpful there. I don't usually get that, but you know, it's just something I can add on. Sometimes I use a magnesium spray. Outside of that, I do supplement with taurine quite regularly. I'd say nearly every day. I'm using between about 5 and 10 grams per day. Other than that, sometimes I'll use 5 grams of glycine before bed. Do I think it's absolutely helpful? Maybe not, but it's cheap enough and useful that I think, you know, some good evidence around it to say, you know, maybe it improves your longevity, maybe it helps your joints, maybe it helps you sleep a little bit. Like I said, it's cheap enough to experiment, and I seem to notice a subtle benefit from it. These are all just small little biohacks. They're not going to change the game for anyone, really, if I'm honest. But they might be quite helpful in some cases. Now, I did look at my blood test results recently, and everything was absolutely perfect. But one of my white blood cell markers, or my white blood cell count, was a bit high. And it's always been a bit high. It's been high since I was a kid and first got glandular fever. And I've had mononucleosis twice in my lifetime, which is really annoying. Now, with that being said, my immune system is not always that great, at least in terms of like very mild acute illnesses. So I tend to get like, not ill, but just a little bit, a bit of hay fever, maybe my guts aren't quite functioning right. So occasionally I'll go for a stint of just using 2 B complex tablets per day. I don't think they're absolutely necessary when you're on a carnivore diet, but sometimes I think covering your bases can be useful. In contrast to that, I'd say someone wouldn't actually need to use it unless there's a reason to use it. So I wouldn't just add it onto someone's supplement stack if there's no absolute reason to do it. But I seem to find it helps with digestive function, immune system health. Contrary to popular belief, if you can control your rate of enzymatic production in your gut, then your immune system will be likely a little bit better. So that's just like an additive there, here and there. So it's a bit like magnesium, not always, but sometimes. But that's pretty much it. So the mainstays, I'd say, for the most part, are vitamin D and taurine. Outside of that, just here and there, little bits sprinkled in.
Sweet. I've been doing topical magnesium. We just did. I don't know if you're. I don't know if we've talked about this. No, I don't think we have. We haven't talked a lot lately. But Baja Salt, Baja Gold Salt Company, based out of based out of Mexico, they have a bath salt that is very, very high in magnesium, and so we just did it. So we just did a product giveaway with that. But yeah, I've done it 3 or 4 times over the last week, and I feel like it's helping my sleep. I feel like it's helping my recovery, and so maybe there's some placebo effect there. But I've always taken it orally, and so I've been trying to get into more topical games, and that's been something we've been doing lately. On taurine, isn't carnivorous diet pretty high in taurine already?
Yeah, it's very high in taurine. I mean, it is like a sulfonic or amino acid that you find in meat. I think some of the problem is a lot of the stuff we buy over here it's been aged for a long time. Perhaps people overcook it. I slow cook a lot of meat. I find it digests better, but you just don't get much taurine in it once you've processed a food. So although it is naturally innate within animal foods, you can lose some of it. For example, aged meat will have less taurine in it. So I find it's a useful supplement. It's not absolutely necessary, essentially, to add it in, but supplementally, I find it useful for about half of my clients. And anyone with any digestive issues, I'd absolutely suggest adding it in, at least trying it for a week or two. It's helpful. If you have too much, it's not likely that you're going to have a major problem. It's also another one of those supplements that's pretty cheap. So even if someone just buys a small pouch of it, 100 grams, try it out, buy a few capsules, use it for a week, give yourself a 1 to 10 on different health markers and say, oh, this feels like this, my digestion's like this, my sleep's like this. Perhaps you have heart palpitations. In that instance, it's pretty useful. But, yeah, I find it quite good. It's something, like I said, half people I put on it find a benefit out of it in some way. So, it's worth trying out for a lot of people.
Do you think do you guys think it's a wise practice if you're confident in the source of your meat? Because obviously, I would never recommend that anybody eats raw meat. That is a horrible idea, and nobody should ever do it. That being said, most of the meat that I eat is pretty much raw. I know exactly where it came from because I shot the deer. So I've basically been living off of keto bricks, butter, and venison for the past couple months now. And do you think it would make more sense, or do you think that I'm probably getting enough natural taurine to where there's probably less of a need for like someone like me to supplement? But now I'm probably going to try it anyway, just because I'm curious.
I'd honestly try it. I mean,
Right.
It's not going to be a massive waste of money. What I'd say is just buy a 100-gram pouch of it. Give it a couple of weeks, add it in, perhaps 2 or 3 grams, 2 to 3 times per day. Whenever you want, put it in your water. You can put it in your water, just swig that throughout the day. It's still effective. I would try it. I'd personally try it. I recognise enough benefit from it to suggest it to people. Do I think you're absolutely deficient in it? Probably not. No. You seem to be doing well. Your skin looks clear. You seem to be quite healthy. All things considered, putting in long hours in front of the screens and looking after 2 little children, a spouse, running a business. So you seem to be doing well. It may give you an edge. I don't know, but try out.
Sounds great. Appreciate it. Raw meat versus cooked meat. How thoroughly are you guys cooking your meats?
Whatever the air fryer settings allow it to be cooked as. So I just press 2 buttons and whatever comes out is whatever comes out. I don't really care.
What about you, Mark?
When it comes to me, I like my medium rare. I think the more pink it is, the better, just for digestive reasons, what you guys are mentioning. I'm not a big fan of overcooking my meat. I find if I overcook my meat, it digests too long. I can be very, very full. But I did that through prep. I found that when I overcooked my food, I was fuller a lot longer. So when I was going down, when my food was very, very low and I was only eating one meal a day, I cooked the arse out of me, seriously. And it made a
Yeah, I think I
huge
remember.
difference.
I think
Huge
I remember you
difference.
doing that. That was kind of towards the end of your prep, right? Where you started cooking a little bit longer for that reason, because it was helping with your satiety.
Yeah, honestly, when I overcooked it, I could go for maybe 3 or 4 days without any food. It didn't affect me at all. Whereas leading up to the show, I'd say about maybe 8 to 10 weeks, I was keeping my meats kind of medium rare. It was digesting perfectly. I could eat a meal probably if I wanted to, an hour, 2 hours before I go to the gym, and I'd feel relatively good. I wouldn't feel that heaviness feeling or that bloated feeling or that gassy feeling. It just felt good. My energy was really, really good. But I definitely felt as the show got closer, I was coming up with a few ideas. Okay, how can I keep myself full? And I just overcooked the meat. And when I started eating, I was like, okay, by the end of this, I can't eat anymore. So it was a good trick.
Yeah. Yeah, I think with raw versus cooked meat, ultimately it's like an N=1 experiment. If you're someone that has some kind of histamine intolerance, perhaps you can't clear away histamine in your body very well. I'd imagine Coach Mark is just like that. In which case, yeah, overcooking his meat, extra processed food will likely not digest as well. He's not going to want to eat it. His body's sending a signal to his brain to say, stop giving me this, I'm not hungry now, don't do this again. In which case, yeah, listen to your body. I think that's a good marker. In contrast to that, if you're someone that doesn't have that issue and you cook your food, perhaps it is digest a bit better just because if it's warmer, it matches your body's core temperature, so it's going to be digested a bit better that way. So
Yeah,
that's kind of
couldn't
my
agree
take
with you
on it.
more. Yeah, no, couldn't agree with you more. Unless you're going into like a prep show or you're doing some sort of show, then don't do what I did. Because I believe that digestion is key. If your food is not digesting properly, it's going to have an effect on you going forward. So, yeah, good examples there.
Absolutely. Sorry, there was a question that I was going to ask. Oh yeah, are you guys keeping your diet like interesting and making it fun, or are you just keeping it like really basic? Because I'm one of those guys where I'm just all about business, right? I'm working as much as I possibly can every single day. This is our busiest season. Any time that I have outside of that, I try to give it back to my family. I mean, other than that, I'm basically just work, train, eat, sleep, breathe, carnivore diet, and then helping other people stay on track with the same thing, right? Um, but I mean, part of that process of living such a busy lifestyle, that's why the carnivore diet is so appealing in the first place, because you reduce your decision fatigue, right? Instead of making 5 meals throughout the day that has you're eating probably over 50, of maybe even as close as to 100 ingredients by the end of the day. If you're eating processed foods, right, that's asking a lot on your digestive system. That's taking a lot of time to prep those meals. Compare that to 1 or 2 meals a day where you don't even have to think about it. I mean, my first meal is a keto brick. I just eat the entire brick. I know exactly how much. I know exactly where my calories are at. Excuse me, calories. I know exactly where my macros are at right there. Okay. And so, shut up, Jonathan. Good thing you're on mute. I can hear you laughing. My bad. And then after that, it's just venison and butter to satiety. And like I just it tastes bomb. Like it's delicious every single bite of it. But yet I'm not hungry the entire day, and I just kind of have that to look forward to the next day. So it's great. Like I feel my best, and I don't want to replace any of my venison with chicken or pork or anything else. This is just, I'm in a good group and I want to stay here. It's just a hard diet to sell, man. It's just hard to keep people motivated to eat the same thing every day, or to come to a place like this if they've been on a standard American diet for so long. So I guess I've been relying on the rest of my clients and everybody else that like actually makes their food look appetizing, and they're making cool stuff with it. They're making cool reels or whatever with it. So I'm sharing that stuff because I don't know. I just feel really vanilla and lame, but it's so good. Just red meat, water, salt. I could live on that the rest of my life. I'm not. So I guess I'm curious. Both of you guys, like, are you just kind of business every single day, or are you making it fun, and are you getting creative with how you're eating?
Do you want to go first, Jonathan, or me? Okay, so with me, I'm very, very comfortable with my food at the moment. I'm just eating when I'm hungry. And I'm finding now that the first part of the day, like you, Colt, I'm just getting as much as I can, as I possibly can do when I'm fasted, because I feel like I can think a lot more when I'm actually just on the go. I don't need to think about food because I like to sit down, and when I'm having my food, I like to just relax, eat my food. It probably takes me about half an hour, 40 minutes to eat it. I'm not rushing it. Whereas I
Amen.
don't this
Amen to that. I'm the same
yeah,
way.
because whereas in the past when I was eating 6 meals or 7 meals a day, I'd have that meal, I'd wolf it down, it wouldn't be digesting properly, and then 2 hours later you're saying, right, okay, I need to eat again, and you're not allowing your stomach juices to digest the food. So yeah, when I get up in the morning, it's all go, go, go. I'm getting content done. I'm getting clients checked in. I'm getting all their programs done. I'm getting me training done. I'm looking after the house. I'm looking after the dogs. I'm getting as much done as I possibly can because I'm very, very productive. And the last thing in my mind is I'm thinking about food. I'm not thinking about food because I'm at that stage at the moment where I'm only coming out of a show. I'm only going through a reverse diet at the moment. So I haven't pushed my food up to where it was before. So that's where I am at the moment. I'm not in that position where I want to overindulge it. I want to be more controlled with my food. I don't want to be, and I'll probably be a little bit more cautious over the Christmas period. Not too much, not to the point where I used to like eat like a lot of food, but now I feel like I will eat. I'll still eat a good bit, but I'll be very, very cautious. Probably for the next probably 3 to 5 weeks, I'd say.
I love how you explain that. Thanks a lot for that, Mark. Jonathan, when you tagged me earlier today on Instagram, that meant a lot. Thanks for that. I think you're right, because we're always referring our services among the three of us. We've been doing this forever, and so if there's someone where I'm like, this is a better fit for Mark, I'm sending them to Mark. If this person's a better fit for Jonathan, I'm sending them to you, and you guys have been doing the same for me, and that's how we work together. I think you. I think you mentioned something about like me being helpful in the area of emotional eating, which I thought was kind of ironic because I've actually learned a lot of helpful tips on mindful eating from you, Jonathan, and from both of you, really. Mark, I was what you were describing, I think, is very helpful for people that are trying to get better at mindful eating and getting into a parasympathetic state when they do eat. Because I believe for this to work, for it to work best, that you're not thinking about food the majority of the day, which is easy to do if you're on the carnivore diet, because then your blood sugar is stable, your insulin is stable, and you're not having these chronic sugar cravings throughout the day. So you just forget that food even exists, really. But then when it's time to eat, I think it's really important to be mindful of every single bite that you eat. I think you need to chew everything up. You need to swallow it all the way instead of just like scarfing it down, and being relaxed while you're eating too. That helps with your digestion. And I mean, if it's your one meal a day, then you should freaking enjoy it, right? Like,
Yeah.
I'm with you. You know, not when you're in a meeting, not in the middle of the day when you have like 400 things in your mind, you're still like multitasking at work or whatever. It's a lot easier to just wait until the end of the day where you can put some more thought into how you eat. I'm not sure if you guys have any more thoughts on that.
No, I couldn't agree more because I feel like you, and I don't know about Jonathan, but when I'm during the morning, like my days are quite hectic, so I'm very, very stressed. So my stomach is like a washing machine because I have so much to do. Now, the last thing I want to do is eat a meal because I know I'm not going to be able to digest that meal, and that's why I've always been a fan. Like I've never been a fan of this post workout window of eating a meal,
Right.
because you've just put your body through enormous stress through the gym. So the like I mentioned about your stomach is going to be literally like a washing machine. So when you put food in there, it's not going to digest properly. It's well, I've noticed that in the past, that when I used to eat like pretty much straight after the workout, I wasn't even hungry, but I just did it because I was told from we all believe that you need to eat post workout. But I never really enjoyed it because I was never hungry. So nowadays, like after training, I'm probably going maybe 90 minutes, could be 2 hours. Some days it could be 3 hours, and I'm completely fine. And the reason why I'm doing that is I'm looking for that time during the day where I'm on my own. I have no stress. I have no work. It's just like me and my meal. Right, I've got 30 minutes, 40 minutes. Stay off my phone. Just enjoy every bite of that meal.
Very, very good. I've never been told by somebody that was not trying to sell me a supplement that you need a post-workout meal. It's always somebody that's selling a protein powder or a shake or some sort of supplement. It's never really a health coach that says when you're done with your workout that bam, you need to eat right then. I think you need to listen to your body. I agree with both of you. Leg days for me, especially the harder I train, the less of an appetite I have, and my appetite at night usually isn't even that big. The next day, I'm a ravenous freaking animal. Yeah, then it's where I need like 2 or 3 meals spread out through more like 8 hours, and then I'll go back to intermittent fasting on my days where on the days after I'm not training as hard. But I think that, and I mean, even when I was in high school, man, like after a hockey game, I didn't have an appetite for a couple hours. Your body just went through a lot of stress. It needs some it needs some time to recover just internally from that workout, especially if you're training like we do. I mean, if you train like most Americans do, yeah, okay, you're probably good to eat right after the gym. No, you train low volume, high intensity. I think you need some more time to recover after that. Jonathan, what are your thoughts on that?
I'm just going to add one more point just before Jonathan jumps in. When my food starts to increase and I feel like I'm eating more, then I will space out my meals even more, because I feel like because my food volume will be too high, I won't be able to eat all that in one meal. Whereas now I'm eating 2 meals at the moment. They're quite easy on my stomach. Everything feels really, really good. But I know in about maybe a few weeks' time, when my volume of food goes up again, then I'll definitely add in a third and a fourth meal, because I feel like that's the key to digestion. And not in all cases. I know a lot of people like to have that huge big meal, like 1 big meal or 2 big meals. For me, that has a major impact on my gut if I do that.
Yeah. If you are going to do the 1 meal, my recommendation is always to have as few ingredients as you can. So like for that so that's why for me it's venison, it's butter, and it's salt, and absolutely no seasonings, nothing else whatsoever. And if you want some seasoning or something, I'm sure it wouldn't be that big of a deal. But it's a lot. Your body, your digestive system your stomach can handle a lot if it doesn't require like a million different enzymes to break down the 30 different ingredients that you just ate. So yeah, if you're eating a protein bar, and then if you're having some fruit, and if you're having like a salad or something, okay, by the end you're up to 30 ingredients already. There's a big difference between that and eating something that's more bioavailable, right?
Yeah, I think there's something to be said for like intuitive eating. And I thought initially, oh, this is a load of rubbish. Like going back a few years, I thought this can't be right. You know, you need to track your macros, be diligent about your meal timing. You know, your body works like a clock. You're like in the army. You know, you eat every 3-4 hours, this, that, and the other. I just realised your appetite is all over the shop. Like Colt just said, okay, I had a leg day the day after. Okay, I eat 2 or 3 meals within that day. Usually, I might eat 1 meal. I notice exactly the same thing. So maybe I'm not eating 2 or 3 meals. Maybe I'm eating 3 or 4.
Mm-hmm.
But the same principle applies. You know, my appetite, say, on a day where I'm busy, I'm using my mind a lot. Perhaps I'm not thinking about food as much. My body might be hungry for it, but my brain won't actually tell me. So I'll actually be staring at a screen, doing some client work or making a video. 4, 5, 6 hours needs to go by, and I don't notice anything. But what I do actually consider is my macronutrient intake over the day. Now, I'm not as diligent during the off-season mass gaining phase with my diet in terms of hitting my macros exactly as I am pre-contest.
Yeah, I don't
I
think
kind
any
of find
man.
you can't force it.
You're
You know,
my friends.
like I'll give myself a guideline. So, say right now I'm trying to hit below 30 grams of carbs a day, if that. About 250 protein, sometimes up to 300 protein, and about 250 to 300 fat. Some days it'll be 300 protein and 250 fat. Sometimes it'll be switched around.
And how much do you weigh?
I weigh about, oh god, about 112 kilos, so 250 pounds, I think, something like that. So it's a lot of food.
250 pounds?
Yeah, I think so.
You weigh 250? I didn't know that. Wow. Yeah, you got a good
Yeah,
40 pounds on me then.
I'm quite a heavy man. Yeah,
Well done.
246 apparently, but 246 to 250 apparently. So yeah, I mean, that's just where my appetite falls. That is just where it falls. Now, could I do that in 1 meal? No, I couldn't. But then if I did what Colt does, and I had 1 meal for the most part, I'd lose a lot of weight. I'd also probably lose a lot of muscle. The thing about the carnivore diet is it does try to, the diet itself does try to make you land at what your body's meant to be at. My body is not meant to be 250 pounds. My body's meant to be probably realistically 220 or less. So, you know, with that in mind, I have to force myself. So that's why I give myself a guideline. But that guideline is set higher because I know if I ate to my appetite, I would not weigh 250 pounds. I just won't. So, you know, the body is always trying to be an homeostatic, safe point. You know, where do I feel best? But the problem is, because I'm a bodybuilder, I'm trying to exceed my expectations for myself and trying to excel at something. So that's why the guideline for myself is a bit higher. Another thing as well is like right now, us three guys are sat here, you know, on a podcast together. None of us are actually thinking really much about food right now, aside of talking about what we like to eat.
I know.
We're not sat there like
I feel
thinking,
like a hypocrite sometimes because we preach this and then he's like, okay, wow, 8 client check-ins later and 2 podcasts later, I've been talking about food the entire day or whatever.
yeah, like I'm gonna have something to eat after this, but it's not gonna be a massive meal. It's just something to tie me over till the next day. But if you go to any bodybuilding podcast online, any of the major ones you can think about, they're all eating during the actual podcast when they're recording, because they can't sit there for an hour and a half and not eat, because they stick to that clock. Then meanwhile you say, oh, what's in their little pot, the little jug next to them, their tablet dispenser? Oh, these are my digestive enzymes, this is my digestive shake. And you're like, well, there's obviously a problem here if you have to take that in order to try and alleviate the problem that you have with your digestion. We sit here, we'll eat a meal, and that'll be about it. There's no other complication or additive we need to, you know, use to try and digest food better, because we're living instinctually. And I'm with Coach Mark on this. I mean, I don't eat immediately after workouts anymore. It never quite sat well in the past either. Now I'm kind of think about it. But for the most part, say my breakfast is, say on average 8 o'clock. Say I train 9 or 10 o'clock. And say I have my next meal 12 or 1 o'clock. You know, I'm not concerned about the anabolic window. Yet I'm at my most muscular physique ever, in spite of not taking advantage of that so-called anabolic window. So there's something to be said for instinctive eating, but I am quite big on giving myself a macro guideline, just because I know I've got a ballpark figure of where I need to go. I know what kind of macros maintain my body weight at that kind of point. But, you know, we're always trying to exceed ourselves, so I always shoot for the higher side of it, but it doesn't always happen. And what I find is if I'm trying to gain mass and I try all the time every day to hit, you know, the fringe protein, fringe fat, eventually something will give out. I won't sleep as well. My stomach will be hard. I won't feel good. I won't digest food as well. And ultimately, if I don't digest food, I'm not sleeping well, my recovery isn't good, and I'm not going to actually perform better in my next workout. So I'm not able to actually stimulate that muscle growth to occur anyway. So, you know, you can't work against yourself too much, in my opinion.
Yeah, see how I base it, and how I base it with clients is very simple, and how I push the food up is this is how I do it. So let's say if I'm doing a lift in the gym, or I get someone to do a lift in the gym, let's say they're doing it like I have them doing a chest press machine, and let's say for the first 3 weeks, they're getting stronger at that movement. That tells me, okay, I need to push the food up. Now, if they've stalled on that movement, say for 6 weeks, then that tells me I didn't do my job properly, because I should have been saying, right, okay, in order for these people to progress their strengths, obviously they need to add more food in. And that's what I've been doing now since I came out of the show. I've been basing everything on my logbook. So I've stuck to the same exercises. I haven't changed anything. But if I'm getting stronger on a week-to-week basis, or every 2 weeks, my body's telling me, okay, listen, if you want me to get stronger, you need to add more food in. That's how I can get away with it. So, but what's happening is my metabolism is starting to speed up. It's basically, it's saying, right, okay, we can add this food back in, and it's not going to do any damage whatsoever. And I'm at a stage now where I don't have no idea what my food is at the moment, but I know it's definitely increased since day one. And I feel pretty good, and I still feel relatively hungry. And I've significantly increased my food. And I'm going to keep on trialing that, because I've always said I'm going to push my food up to a stage where I want to see where I can get away with. I want to see if I can eat like a large amount of food, not put too much weight on, not too much body fat on, but I've actually retained muscle. And I want to see what I can do in 6 months' time. I want to see if I can stick to what I believe, my principles, just increase the food slowly. If you're getting stronger, I know not in all cases, it says that you're actually building muscle. But I believe if you structure it properly and you do it slowly, and you're watching your lifts every couple of weeks, and you're increasing your food along the way, as long as you're lean and you still look pretty much the same what you did after the show, well then, in my opinion, you've retained a lot of muscle and you've done it the right way.
You should look leaner as you continue to grow after your show too, because if you keep your body fat percentage the same, and if you're not gaining fat, but if you're building muscle, even if you gain fat at a slower rate that you're building muscle, your body fat percentage actually goes down because you have more mass and your muscle bellies are fuller. That makes your skin tighter. That just makes you look leaner overall. This is also like the best time for you to be building muscle in your entire life right now, Mark. I know you're over 40, but this is actually a prime right now, coming right after a show. I'm not sure if there's science that actually proves this or not, but there's a lot of bodybuilders that believe in something called the anabolic rebound. Jonathan, is that something that you're familiar with? Is that legit, or is that just like everybody? Is that just like most bodybuilders in the golden era were taking so many drugs before the show that like they just kind of rebounded because of that? Or like, is that something that natural bodybuilders can do?
So I think anyone can do it. I think when you push your food intake lower, so you're in a macro food mass deficit, whatever you want to call it, your body becomes more insulin sensitive, and your body will actually compartmentalize nutrients within a certain part of the body better. So, i.e., every gram of fat you take in will be compartmentalized into muscle tissue along with the protein with it. So you're in a position where you can actually store foods better without actually gaining body fat. Now it's kind of like it's not exponential. You can't continue to do that. So obviously, as you add in more food, your body becomes less sensitive to that. Now, there's a cascade of hormones and different things that happens in order to gain muscle mass. Now, what will happen when you're in a deficit? You're low in body fat. You're in a good state of autophagy. Growth hormone's probably quite high to preserve muscle mass, things like that. And when you suddenly add in more food, your insulin level in your body will go up. So when you mix high growth hormone levels with more food, i.e. more insulin, you'll notice that you can actually produce more IGF-1. So that is actually a hormone or a blood marker you can actually test and measure for. How significant it is very individual. It might be that you're someone that tends to notice a massive benefit from it, and some people just don't. But you can be rest assured, if you're in a post-contest phase, you'll be secreting more IGF-1, which is responsible for stem cell differentiation and cell splitting. So your muscle fibers actually split and develop and grow faster. So that does happen, and bodybuilders do notice that. So although there is a cell swelling part of it, like you said, your body fat will essentially actually seem lower, even though you're gaining a slightly amount of body fat. Your muscle mass will actually increase more and more and more. But you don't do that kind of rebound post-contest phase for like 6 months. I'd say you probably do it for about 2 months, then the body will start to release more myostatin, so you'll have that inhibiting effect, so you won't actually gain that much more muscle. So Mark's in a position now where, a few weeks out or a month post-show, he probably still continue to gain much more muscle than usual, but it'll begin to taper off probably around about the 6 to 8 week mark. That's what I kind of say when you're in a position where, you can give your digestive system a bit of break. A lot of people then address their body fat again if it's getting a bit high. But the ideal situation to be in is exactly what you said, Colt. So you're not gaining much body fat, but you're gaining enough so you can still perform well in the gym. And for most people, that's going to be, I'd say by about 8 weeks, you should probably be back at about 10% body fat at that point.
Yeah, you are going to, being below 10% body fat as a male, that's unless you're very, very genetically gifted, just kind of rough on your body. That's how you get sick more often. That's how it can affect your mood and your ability to even want to train. But then you're walking a fine line because you put on too much fat too fast, and then you see all your results go out the window, and you're like, man, that doesn't help your motivation either. So yeah, Mark and I are kind of walking a fine line with his reverse diet right now, feeding him enough to keep up with his gains. But if we overshoot it, it's a moving target. So if we overshoot it, then he's going to get fat, and we don't want that. We like ripped Mark. We like shredded Mark, not fat Mark.
Yeah. See, the problem I made in the past was when I got shredded before, I pushed my food back up to maintenance pretty quickly. And then what happened was I got into that cycle. Okay, I'm enjoying food. I'm starting to binge again, but it's completely different now because I'm eating a completely different diet now. So before it would have been okay, like Jonathan said, you're releasing insulin, you're eating more sugars, you're eating more carbs. You couldn't control it. Whereas now I have full control of my eating habits. I know I can take my time with this. I'm not going to rush it. There's absolutely no rush. We're in a season now where it's fucking freezing, so nobody's going to be seeing you with your top off. So it's just like, okay, let's see what I can do for the next 6-7 months until we get to the summer, because that's where I'm working on now. I'm going to see where I can actually take my body in the next year, because I never took it serious in the past. I never ever took it serious in the past, but now I have the itch. I'm saying, right, I'm not going to compete again, but I want to see in 2, 3, 4 years how far I can actually take my body. Can I retain? Can I put on, say, 25, 30 pounds of muscle in, say, 6, 7, 8 years time? And I'm pretty sure I can. I can't see any reason why I would deviate from what I'm doing at the moment. I'm very, very comfortable with what I'm doing. I love going to the gym, feeling really, really good. I love the fact that I'm still relatively lean. And yeah, the process is just so much easier now than it was before.
Jonathan, where do you fit on this spectrum? So Mark was a health coach and we've turned him into a bodybuilder. I'm a bodybuilder, man, have been for a long time. And I became a carnivore long after I started bodybuilding because of bodybuilding and for health reasons. And now I've dedicated my life to helping people live healthier lives in the carnivore diet. So like I've become a health coach with a bodybuilding background, kind of the opposite. Where are you at on that?
That's a good question. So my slogan has always been aligning physique goals with positive health outcomes. So I'm kind of in the middle, but my approach is always health first. So that's slightly different to what a lot of coaches out there will kind of promote or say. Now, oftentimes we'll get people inevitably, I want to look good on the beach in June, and right now it's May, for example. Okay, you've got 4 weeks to do it. Oftentimes I'm actually in consultations, people actually adjust their goals. So I say, well, we could look good all year round, but it will take you 8 to 10 weeks to actually get to that point rather than 4 weeks. By that point, I'm kind of thinking, well, I might lose this client here, but I've got to be honest with them and at least outline the reasons why doing a very fast, hard cut for 4 weeks will be a problem for them. And inevitably, every client I've ever coached that has come to me with an extreme goal, they've fallen off immediately within about 2 to 3 weeks. So it's not sustainable. Now, if someone came to me and they're a bodybuilder and they're like, okay, well, they've got a defined goal. I know they want to be shredded out of their mind in, so 8 to 10 weeks. Okay, that's what they need to do. Fine, we can do that. But then also have the ethical responsibility as a coach to kind of say, well, after that, you're not going to binge eat because it's going to raise your blood pressure, your heart rate's going to go sky high, you won't sleep, your digestive system will be absolutely trash. In which case, you do a responsible thing and you create some kind of reverse diet or some way out of the diet at least, so they're not going from, like you both kind of said before, like, you're eating next to nothing and going to Pop-Tarts and Twinkies the next day. That's not an ideal health situation, but for the most part, I don't promote anything too extreme. Usually quite middle ground, but my main focus is always health, if I'm honest.
Absolutely. You sound like you're a coach that actually cares about your clients, huh?
Yeah, absolutely. I've kind of had to be that way just because of the clientele I get. So the stuff I talk about isn't so much the generic stuff like, oh, this is how you build big bicep, this is how you get a six pack. It's all like, okay, how do I get a six pack with digestive issues? How do I get a bigger biceps with a damaged spine? Those are the kind of clients I have. Nearly every client I speak to has at least one autoimmune disorder. I'd say 99% of them do at least one. So in that kind of instance, I'm thinking, well, everyone I'm working with is like this, so I have to take a health-focused approach. It has to be that way. It can't be another way. So, but then again, if I had a different client, perhaps a young guy, 18 years old, come to me, he knows that he's only going to do something for a week or two. Well, here you go, here's a plan. But I don't tend to work with many of them just because I don't promote myself as like a sensationalistic person that's like, okay, you're going to get X, Y, or Z result in 2 weeks and that's it. Build an inch in your arms in a month. Well, no, I'm honest with people. I know you guys are as well. And I just actually got off a podcast with Robert Sykes, and he said exactly the same thing. He's like, he doesn't work with people like that because he knows they're not going to be long-term clients, not people that actually take their goals or health seriously. They're not going to be people that are going to give you good reviews and good testimonials because they don't care. They're just in it for the short haul. So yeah, that's kind of my take on it.
The last handful of coaching meetings that I've had, I was really inspired and really encouraged that they opted for the lower rate longer plans than the shorter plans. When I first started getting into online coaching, all my plans were like 3-month long plans, 12-week transformation, change the way you look in 12 weeks, change the way the way you look in 12 weeks. That's what most people are looking for. When somebody says, no, I want to lose 50 pounds, and I know it's going to take a year to get there. That's kind of what I'm more looking to hear. Those are the people that really stick with it long term. I think my best clients have been the ones that were actually training for years. But I'm with you, Jonathan. I get really nervous when someone says, I want to shred down for this photo shoot, especially if they're already lean and they don't have a lot of muscle, and I know that they've been chronically under eating for a while. Those are some delicate situations where it's like, I think we need to reassess your goals. I think we should start with a reverse diet first. I think we should get your metabolism healthy. I think we should get your hormones in check. And I don't think we should focus on fat loss at all. Let's make the scale go up a little bit.
Actually. Yeah.
I think that's what I was leaner, and I think you'll feel better after that.
Yeah, and that's what I was going to mention. It speaks volumes. Us as coaches, when I take clients on, or we take clients on, I'm like Colt. I'm like, okay, no, we're not doing the quick fix. No, we're not under eating. You need to eat. And these people are looking at you and saying, no, I don't need to eat. Like I'm quite comfortable. And you're like, no, well, you're obviously not the right person for me. And I don't know about you guys, but I have been in that situation on a few times. And I've called people out saying, listen, like, if you're not going to do what I say and you're not going to look after your health, then I have no problem with you going on to somebody else. I'd rather you didn't, but like,
I remember some of those calls, man, from like a year ago with you telling me like, hey, I got this person that wants to do this. That's not realistic, right? And I'm like, no. And then like, there's times where I'll get off the phone with someone like that and be like, okay, Mark, here's what we're trying to do. Do you think this is realistic or not?
Yeah, it's crazy, honestly. And I have no problem with turning around and say to somebody, listen, I'd rather you go with me. But if you're not gonna take on board what I'm saying, because at this stage you're explaining the plan, you're explaining what's going to happen, you're explaining the whole process of where you should be in the next few months, a year's time. But they're looking past that. They're like, no, I want to look like this in 6 weeks' time, and I can pick that up straight away. I can pick it up in the attitude. I can pick it up in their facial expressions. I'm just like, I'm going to call you out here. Like, you're not the right fucking person for me. It's as simple as that. Like, I don't care who you go to. Like, you're not the right person. I want to be, like Jonathan said, I want to be seen as a health coach. I'm not interested in taking you from looking that's the way you are now to getting really, really lean. That's probably the easiest part. I want to see what I can do with your body, and I want to get you metabolically healthy first. I want to get you on a program, on a diet that you can sustain pretty much for the rest of your life and not just for 6 weeks.
Yeah, well, case in point, about a month or so ago, I took on a client, and he's 28 years old, just like me. And he actually found me for a Sean Baker podcast, maybe 6-9 months ago. I was talking about my spine. Funnily enough, he has a spine disease as well. And I'm like, I'm kind of like where you are, but maybe like a year or two ahead in terms of like surgeries, treatment plans, stuff like that. So he obviously came to the right person to talk about the carnivore diet, bodybuilding, competing, and with a spine disease. Anyway, what I've done basically is I've found his right macro amount to keep satiated so he feels like he's eating enough food. He was doing like OMAD, all this sort of stuff, deliberate fasting, every kind of possible mental stress and pressure you could put on his body. I think it's like an hour of cardio every day, plus 5 to 6 hours of weight training a week. 20 sets, all that stuff.
Wow.
Gimmicky exercises. I just refined everything. It wasn't until week 3 I thought, well, I've refined that sort of stuff. Now let's actually drop out all the cardio. And week 3, where I actually dropped out all the cardio, was the point where he said, my inflammation's gone down. But to him, in his mind, he didn't have the understanding. You know, you want to do what you're used to doing because it makes you feel good. But he didn't understand he was cutting in so deep into his recovery capacity, with the extra cardio, the bit that he didn't need to do, he was doing so much of. So I've completely cut that out. Within a week of cutting out, he actually feels much better. His inflammation's less, his sleeps better, he's assimilating food better because he's not in that fight or flight response. And oftentimes it's not about just cutting back food, because, you know, I can tell Colt, okay, to get in shape, just don't eat anything for a month. Okay, great. Well, then what? Then what do you do? You can't do anything from there. You're stuck. You got gastroparesis, your digestive system doesn't work. You don't produce enzymes to break down your food. You're not sleeping well. You're miserable. You've divorced your wife. Your kids hate you. You know, that's not helpful, is it? So, you know, there's plenty of instances where I'm sure we've all had where we've actually just done the opposite, or done what seems counterintuitive to actually get the client the results based on their health outcomes.
Yeah,
Definitely.
100%.
Couldn't have said it better myself. We are coming up at the end of the hour. Jonathan, what have you been working on lately, man? I know your YouTube channel has like blown up over the last couple of months, man. What kind of content are you putting out lately?
Yeah, so a lot of my content, if I'm honest, it's the same message, just repackaged in a more presentable way. If I'm honest, that's literally it. The same thing I was saying a year ago about different things, just repackaged and repurposed to be a bit more accessible to people. Some more editing. I've got more efficient now. I've upgraded some things. It seems to be going quite well. Coaching is about the same as it was before, but I'm getting a lot more consult clients because word of mouth, testimony, things like that. People see the value in it. You know, like Mark said earlier about, you know, getting someone in front of a screen, face to face, chatting with them. You know, I think we all offer consultations or things like that anyway, alongside our coaching services. And I think there's so much more value to be had from that. You know, I give someone a diet plan. Okay, that's something like $50, or you can spend like $60 for an hour, chat to me for an hour, get all the information you want plus more. So I see more value in that as well myself. That's why my YouTube, my coaching service is called Composition Consultant. I realised it couldn't be composition coaching because I'm limited by the amount of people that I work with. Whereas in a 1 hour consultation, I give someone all these, you know, hour-long podcasts. You give people so much information in it. It's got so much value to it versus writing down 4 or 5 pages on a screen. You know, I like doing them, but I find much more value in the personal side of things, and that's where a coach comes in. And we're just chatting beforehand at some point, talking about how a lot of coaches out there will use a program or an app to actually sell their service, their package. The reality is it's not custom made, it's not individual to them, it's not helpful. And honestly, I've seen it a lot in this industry, and I know Mark, Colt, and myself, and a few select others do spend time to write out these programs, so we do find a good way to get the message across to people. So help is out there in good capacities if you need it. These podcasts, the YouTube channel, check out some of their coaching videos. I know you guys did some training stuff together. You're still looking at putting out more content like that. So I'd recommend people check that out if they're not already doing that. Great tips from Mark in there for sure.
Thanks, homie. Love you guys so much, both of you. Honored that you guys are my friends, and thanks for always being there for me. Thanks for always having my back. I know that you guys are always a phone call away, and you know what you're talking about. You've been doing this forever, Jonathan. I swear, like half my friends are in the UK and Ireland anymore. It's like things that I've figured out anecdotally. I'm like, I don't know why it works, bro. Why does it work? And you explain it to me in perfect science. I'm like, okay, thanks so much. So I just can't thank you both enough for how much that you've impacted my life. And here's to another year. Let's go.
Absolutely.
Cheers, Colt.
Cheers.